All right. And now for our opening song. As I was saying before, welcome, welcome, welcome. We have, as you know, this service is being recorded, and we talked about that. Please visit our website, which is really fantastic. It's saccsl.org, and it has all of our upcoming events. You'll hear about some of those later. It is a way to connect with us, to donate money. We like money. It's actually very helpful in running the center, but also to leave prayer requests where we pray on your request for a week, and to find all that's going on. Thank you. And thank you to our YouTube audience. There is a direct link to YouTube on our website, and we would love for you to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. This enables us to grow our YouTube audience, to become more visible to YouTube watchers and followers, so that they can also get the blessing of these services. And now join me in prayer for our invocation. This presence, the only presence, the one presence. There is one infinite intelligence, infinite grace, and infinite life. And it is all that is happening right here and right now in every moment, the small moments and the large, in every aspect of our being. And I and each one of us here are one with this infinite presence that flows in, as, and through us. Reverend Patricia, as she speaks today, is one with this infinite presence. Everyone who is part of the team, everyone who is attending, everyone who is watching and supporting this service in any way is part of the presence of good. We each and every one hear what is ours to hear, speak what is ours to speak, and do what is ours to do. And this day is perfect. And so it is. And now for our readings. The idea of the absence of good is plainly spoken and often in our society. The idea we are not talking about as a society is where the good must be and where it is. Emma Curtis Hopkins. And Julia Cameron says, what we really want to do is what we are really meant to do. When we do what we are meant to do, money comes to us, doors open for us, we feel useful, and the work we do feels like play to us. And from Eric Butterworth, if you have not resolved the, quote, money enigma, unquote, you quickly lose your lofty awareness the moment you dip into your wallet. And now for our message. Welcome, Reverend Patricia.
Good morning, everyone. I love that quote from from Eric Butterworth. It just kind of gives that spark of humor and lightness that we need when we're talking about money. Finances can be an area of immense joy and an area of immense struggle in life. So it makes sense to me that we spend a month looking at our beliefs around and our relationships to money and finances during our year of living everyday wonder. This is a great topic to bring that sense of curiosity and wonder and compassion and gentleness to. As happens so frequently in my life, there is a flow of synchronicity. Reverend Sharon and I are currently teaching the CSL Foundation course. And we're actually looking at the topic of finances and abundance, which really are two different things. My sense of abundance is not tied to how much money I have or how little money I have. It may be influenced by cash flow, but my sense of abundance is not determined by the amount of cash flowing into my day-to-day life. But today's focus is going to be on the cloud of myths surrounding money. Money's availability, its moral value, how central of a role it plays in my life, and its relationship to our status or our sense of our status, our happiness, and our life purpose. Much of our trauma around money is based on myths, false beliefs, and as they say in recovery programs, plain old stinking thinking. And this morning, I would like to apply some wonder and compassionate curiosity to those beliefs and set ourselves free of beliefs that no longer serve us. First, I'm going to lay out some foundational beliefs that science of mind holds as true. Then I want to visit some of those foundational myths. And finally, I want to open this up for a conversation to hear about any insights or new ideas that you've received from this morning's talk, or any experiences that you have that you'd like to share about what your beliefs about money are and how they impact your approach to life. So foundation belief number one is pure science of mind. And it's actually a Bible quote. As you believe, it is done unto you. Whether what you believe is factually true or not, if you believe it, then it's true for you, and it will be how you experience life. In the document, What We Teach, by our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, he says, we understand that our experience is the consequence of our thoughts and beliefs that we live by. These consequences are not rewards or punishments, but a natural result of what we choose to think and do. In other words, our beliefs are the cause and our experience is the effect. Simple cause and effect. Some people call it karma. What you put out, what you believe is what you get. So foundation belief number two is that first cause, living spirit, divine mind, God, whatever words that you use to describe that higher power, that is your source, not your job, not your family inheritance, not the economy. Therefore, what you believe and feel about that divine intelligence that is greater than you are and created all that exists is supremely important, because that is your source. If you believe that life is a rigged game and that you can never win, guess what? Foundation belief number one says that will be your experience. It will cancel out or warp any positive belief, and it will add strength to any negative belief. What we teach, what science of mind says, is that we are a conduit for the divine flow. And it is as easy and as natural for that flow to show up as good in all areas of our lives, including money and finances. If our conduit is clogged with beliefs that block this flow of good, then that is the cause of any experience of poverty, lack, and limitation. Okay? Foundation belief number three. Our belief work is always in the middle layer of what we call our teaching system, our teaching symbol, which is a visual representation of the creative process. Now, I'm going to show, well, I guess I'm not going to show it. Well, excuse me. You're going to have to visualize a perfect circle, and your belief in the top level is just draw a circle in your mind divided into three sections. And the first one is going to be spirit, God. The second is going to be the law, and the third is going to be manifestation. And now I'm going to simplify that. Let's call the top layer the seed, and the middle layer the soil, and the bottom being the plant. Okay. We take the seed of an idea, plant it into the law, into that creative medium. And following the analogy, we plant the seed into the garden soil, and out of that comes a plant. So we have a cause, the seed. Okay. And this seed would be God's idea of itself as intelligence, as love, as abundance, as peace, as joy, as harmony. Our choices act as a selection process as to which seed gets planted. And all seeds are planted into that soil, that part of life that we call law of mind. And it takes the seed and it nurtures its growth. And again, you can think of this as the soil, like in a garden. And there are lots of names for this level of creation. The divine feminine, Shakti is the counterpart to Shiva, universal unconscious. But what is most important for today's conversation is that that middle layer contains more than just pure soil. It also contains our personal beliefs and humanity's generally held beliefs, usually referred to as race consciousness. At one point, this medium, this soil in our universal garden, contained the belief that the world was flat and that everything, the sun, revolved around the earth. And that all aspects of life could be explained by Newtonian physics. All that has changed, of course. And that's an aspect of this level of creation. It includes all of our beliefs, whether factually true or not. And those beliefs act on the seeds that we plant. Now, refer back to foundation belief number 1. As you believe, it is done unto you. So think of the beliefs that are not working for us, those beliefs that are blocking the divine flow of good, as weeds or conditions in that soil. Conditions like root knot nematodes. Anybody know what a root knot nematode is? Well, Doug and I found out what a root knot nematode is. We tried to start a garden and we dug up the soil and we added stuff to it. And it was this beautiful looking garden. And we planted all these seeds. And where we got anything, it was scraggly and ill-formed. And we didn't know what was going on. So my husband, being a smart man, took the soil and got it analyzed. Found out that we had a microbe called a root knot nematode. It's a little critter, microscopic. And it actually got into the roots of our plants and created these knots that stopped the roots from being able to pull the nutrition from the soil. So our plants withered. Okay. We ended up building raised beds and got rid of the whole thing. But again, for the purposes of this conversation, in that soil, in our belief systems that we have planted our ideas in, we have false beliefs that act like weeds or root knot nematodes, and they stop the flow, they slow down the flow of life-giving nutrients that the soil provides. So all of our personal work, in a great sense, is done in this garden of mind, to clean out those old beliefs and clean out things that aren't working for us anymore. And also, we need to add soil conditioners like gratitude and kindness. Those help vitalize our soil and the seeds that we have planted. So to summarize, the 3 foundation beliefs we've covered are: as you believe, it is done unto you. Our beliefs are the cause and our experience is the effect. Second, God is our source. We are a conduit of the divine flow of good. And third, our work is essentially weeding out our limited beliefs and adding soil conditioners like gratitude and compassion and kindness. So those are the foundation beliefs that kind of form the context of what we're going to be talking about next. And those are the myths. Now, this first myth actually came from the sermon notes. It was a completely new approach for me to old beliefs. So I want to give a shout out to the religious science ministers who created these notes, because again, everybody always has something new to learn. Now I knew the myth that there's something spiritual about being poor, and that all the great spiritual teachers were poor. That's a myth. Jesus is a classic example in our culture, but Jesus wasn't poor. The birth story in Luke has him born in humble circumstances, yes, but that was because there was no room at the inn, not because of parental poverty. You don't check out staying at an inn unless you can afford it. That just blew me away. They traveled a far way. They were tired. They went to the inns to buy a good room, a good place for Mary to rest. And there just was no room. Okay. Then the Magi brought gifts. And the first was gold to fund his life and his ministry. The other gifts were as rare and expensive commodities. These were royal gifts that you give to a royal person. He wore a seamless robe, and they make a big deal in the Bible about his seamless robe because that was a symbol of status, high status. He mixed with rich and poor alike, and he was supported by the people to whom he preached. Nowhere does it ever say that he couldn't afford something. The famous statement about it being hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven is not a comment about riches. It's a comment about the attachment to wealth and social status, which is still true. It's not about having wealth. It's actually a very Buddhist perspective about attachment. Now, the Buddha, we know he came from a wealthy family, but he rejected both extreme wealth and extreme poverty for the middle way. Okay? Muhammad was a wealthy trader, and he married a rich widow. Lao Tzu and Chang Tzu were both respected government officials with no indication of poverty. Abraham, Jacob, Joseph, Moses, there's no indication of poverty. They all were well off, owned land. And it's time to let go of the myth, the spiritual leaders as poor, and that spirituality requires poverty. Poverty's not a virtue. Spirituality maybe, but poverty's not a virtue. So let go of that connection, that myth, that spirituality and poverty must go together. That's the first one. Now, the next one is not so much a myth as a bunch of learned emotional responses that have no basis in truth, capital T truth. And that's our beliefs around debt and loss. Debt occurs when we agree to pay for something over time. Now, we agree to do that either in a consciousness of trust in the flow of money and abundance in our lives, or in a consciousness of fear and a belief that the universe won't supply our needs. And the second kind of debt creates the problem, and it comes from that overall consciousness of lack and distrust of ourselves and the universal flow. It is our beliefs in either our worthiness or the nature of the divine abundance that causes the flow to either back up or keep flowing. But there's nothing about debt itself that has any value, any morality. It's about what intent do we have? What is our beliefs behind being in debt? Loss comes when we believe that money is ours and there's only a limited supply coming from very specific channels. When we let go of possessiveness around money and realize that wealth is a flow It is a form of wealth which we use. It comes in, some stays, some goes out. But we don't need a death grip on money. It is a flow of divine energy. It's divine in its source. It's divine in its nature. We use it according to our beliefs. Therefore, our relationship with this divine flow is based on our beliefs. As you believe, so it is done unto you. We may sustain what in human terms we call loss of money. But nothing is ever lost in the universe. Remember, science has proven that nothing, energy, can be lost or destroyed. And it's all just energy that changes form. Money is a flow of energy that we use. If we maintain our knowing that nothing can stop or block the flow of energy other than our beliefs, we can stay open to the infinite flow, and we will never experience that sense of loss, that something's been taken from us. We know that we live in an ever-present opulence that belongs in the universe. Or as Reverend Sharon says, there has never been a cosmic famine. That flow of abundance is always there for us. And finally, myth number 3 has to do with the level of shame that we can carry around money. If we were raised in a shame-based home or school or church or culture, we especially will carry shame and guilt around highly charged things like money and sex, both, when rightly understood, are forms of divine energy. If our parents didn't know how to deal with this flow, this energy, they likely fought over money, hid their feelings and their dealings with money, didn't talk about it. They may have overspent or underspent, been miserly, so fearful to let go of that death grasp on money and stopped the flow in their lives or other behaviors. And as we learned by watching that there was something wrong, something shameful about money, without ever knowing exactly what it was, because we didn't talk about it. Remember, you don't talk about money. You don't talk about sex. You don't talk about money. It's not polite. We just learned to not talk about money. And not talking about money equals not learning about the flow and how to be in that flow of abundance. So this hidden shame can also lead to being uncomfortable when we compare our finances to others. Are you comfortable around people with either a great deal less or a great deal more money than you? Do you feel like they're not your kind of people? Do you secretly believe that people with money are somehow inherently unethical? Or that people who don't have money just don't work hard enough? If money is simply a divine flow of energy available to all alike and only blocked by our beliefs and perceptions, how do value judgments fit into that picture? They don't. Now, I just covered what I would call some of the larger myths, ones that form context around some of our individual and idiosyncratic beliefs that we may have picked up. And this is where I want to open up the discussion. I would like to know who is willing to share a myth, either personal or collective, that you have lived with. It may still be operating and slowing or blocking the flow of wealth in your life, or it may be something that you've been able to see through and have let go of. Debbie?
I'll go. Yes. So some years ago, I was listening to an audiobook, and it was Abraham Hicks. I love this talk. Thank you. And one of the things that it mentioned is that we never really think that there's not enough health to go around. Like, for example, if Doug gets healthy, there's not enough health for me. Or, or if you get unhealthy, there's more health for me. And yet we have this belief about money, typically in our society. And that just really struck me. And I have to think the reason it really struck me, the teaching was that money is just as available. It is just as infinite. There is enough for each and every person, just as there is enough health for each and every person, just as we take these other, there's enough relationships and enough love for every person. So these other things where we take abundance for granted, kind of, that it's available at least. There's just as much in terms of the flow of energy that's called money. And so I think the reason that it struck me is because I did have that deep-seated belief, much as I've worked on it. And I think it's in race consciousness, this idea that there's not enough, or that if I get too much, you might not have enough, that it's not okay in some way. So that's what I wanted to share.
Agreed. That's wonderful. Again, that's a new perspective. I hadn't thought of that one before. Linda?
I remember we took a course of Eric Butterworth, and there was a phrase that he used, or sentence that he used, that I keep remembering to this day, is that because I had this belief about money can somehow be evil or bad. And it was that reminder that everything is created by the living spirit, by the divine. And so that means money is the currency of the living spirit. And that just was a huge shift for me.
Yes. If it's all divine energy, where did the value come in? True. Diane, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah. When I was growing up, I was exposed to a lot of people that were very rich, and I was pretty young, and I found that they were patently unhappy, and their relationships were very disturbed. And in my mind, I thought that it was the money that made it that way, because in the rest of my life, it felt stable and that relationships were working. Even though there wasn't a lot of money, there was always adequate money, but never a surplus. And I got this attitude that a lot of money led to misery and unhappiness and infidelity and promiscuity and just patent misery on everyone's part. And so, and that sort of is like somehow money is corrupts you. It corrupts you somehow. And I've really struggled with this all my life. I always have everything I need because somewhere in my mind, I feel like that I deserve to be taken care of. And spirit has always shown up for me, but I cannot maintain a savings account of any kind. And it just defeats me constantly. And I am not able to, so a new thing is happening, and that is that I have this desire to donate more than I have coming in. And it's a building in me, so that I'm beginning to believe that I deserve more money coming in so that I can donate more. And that's beginning to ease my feeling, about how corruptive money is and how I don't want to accumulate it because it will corrupt me. And so I'm trying to go at that angle.
Yeah, it's really a chicken and an egg question.
Yeah.
Was the corruption there before the money? And if money is a divine flow of energy, then the corruption has nothing to do with that flow of energy. Yeah. And that's I think a hard one, because we do tend to connect what we've seen as being cause and effect, and we get it backwards. Corey?
I enjoyed that story. I did the death grip thing. My ex-husband said I'd squeeze a penny so hard you hear Lincoln say ouch.
Yeah.
So, but I have, I like money. I really like it. I've never liked it enough where I would take a job that I didn't enjoy doing though. I had to enjoy what I was doing because I think because my dad was depressed a lot of his life. He hated working, you know, and I thought, boy, I don't want to be like that. But I have really worked over the years of thinking of money as a tool, and the way the tool works is it flows, you know, and you got to keep that going. And if you don't, you know, if you do the death grip, block it from coming in. So I have worked that over that. I'd say about the last 10, 15 years, I've really worked on that. And I don't necessarily tie that to security anymore. I tie to security, me feeling secure is more my trust in the universe.
Yeah.
And I'm also working on that. So yeah, money's over here now. And my feeling of security is somewhere else. So I have broken that. And I will say I actually enjoy money more now because I do find I like to give it away more. And I used to see people that were generous and I'm thinking, God, how do they do that? So I started practicing generous when one of my clients would say they love jazz or getting into jazz. I would go out and buy a CD and give them the CD. And a couple of guys looked at me weird and I says, no, this isn't a come on. I know you're married. I'm trying to be generous. It's a new practice I'm doing. So anyway, it's a fascinating subject.
That actually leads into my second kind of question for the audience is for those who have had some kind of healing in this area, what specific steps or concrete things have you done to kind of clean out your house of beliefs? And I think you're buying those jazz CDs is one of them. And I'll share one of mine that came up in class recently. And that's, there was a time that I worked for, as a waitress at the downtown cafe in Manhattan, Kansas, the Little Apple. And let me tell you, this is a working class cafe. We had linemen and farmers come in. So a big tip was a quarter. Luckily, I got fed by the restaurant one good meal a day. There wasn't a lot of money coming in. I was 19 years old and completely on my own, no parental support. But I found myself writing thank you on the check.
Patricia,
Yes,
a
Kathy?
quarter was big back then, dear. Tell them how long ago that was, sweetheart.
I stand corrected. At any rate, I found that I was writing thank you on my checks in the notation for my power and lights, for even when I paid my taxes. Anything, because I was grateful that I had a place, my rent check. I had a place to live. Yeah. I had power and lights and heat. I was thankful for that. And I started valuing what I had by writing thank you on my checks. And that got me out of that resentment of I don't have enough money to hardly live by. And turned it into gratitude. Sweetheart. So does anybody else have any little things that they use to move from that place of death grip on money? Linda?
Well, mine was learning to be like something like you were saying, that gratitude, right? And being mindful so that when I am giving, whether it is paying a bill, being mindful of who I'm supporting when I pay my power bill and whatnot, because that money is actually going to a company that employs a lot of people.
Yeah.
So being mindful and being in gratitude that I am contributing to someone else's abundance also. And so I had to learn to be mindful and being grateful for, like, even giving when I'm tithing. You know, I used to just kind of tithe there just because, you know, I got to tithe, right? But when I shifted and being mindful and in gratitude that I am tithing because it is what nourishes me, then things really shifted. And I expect good. And
Mhm.
when I expect good, I receive good, because then I'm open to it. So that's mine.
Anyone else? Deb?
But I know I already spoke, so if there's someone else who wants to go, that's fine. So I was also going to mention tithing, although I resonate with some of the other things that have been spoken. And for me, it was the practice of increasing my tithing. Because there's this sort of, Linda kind of alluded to how it can feel like an obligation, or I
Mhm.
should, or how, you know, this I have some, it's not my power bill, right? I have some choice in how much I give. And so consciously making this decision to increase it over a period of time, and also to come with that always when I'm tithing, you know, with that attitude that Linda and some of you have talked about of appreciation and gratitude, being in the right headspace, honestly, you know, not feeling like, oh, I don't have enough, but I'm going to give this anyway, made a huge difference. And what I found was when I increased my tithing, there was no loss in the flow of money. It was like I never had less. In fact, I had more. So it was like, I mean, you get the idea, but that's it. Okay, next.
Yeah, I mean, this is a critical point because that divine flow, cognitively, it's easy to get. There's this divine flow from the universe. But it's harder to realize that the flow, there's only one pipeline that comes through me. And if I shut down the pipeline of me giving into the world, then I can't receive as much either. They go together. So the more I open myself up to giving to the world, whether it's money, whether it's kindness, whether it's generosity, whether it's my time that I spend with people or giving my talent away, the more I am open to that flow coming through me, the more comes to me. So that's why all the spiritual teachers talk about, they may call it tithing, they may not, but it's about giving of your time, talent, and treasure. Give. You cannot outgive the universe. Okay. Think of tomatoes, okay, or zucchini. Any gardener knows that at some point in the year, your baskets are going to be overflowing with zucchini and tomatoes. Okay. You put out a basket that says free to a good home. You leave them as unannounced, unowned, unidentified gifts at your neighbors. So, okay, because they're probably sick and tired of them too. But there's an abundance. Okay. But it has to go. If I stop it in my wallet, if I stop it in my bank account, then it stops cold. And so what I teach is whatever level that you're giving right now, increase it by 1% or 2%, whatever you're comfortable with, but increase it. Okay. See what happens. See if you can outgive God, outgive the universe, but do it in a safe way. You know, if you're giving $200 a month to the church, give $220. You know, it's a little increase. Okay. And just see how that loosens things up to flow more into your life. And that ties back in to one of the second foundational belief. God is your source, not the government, not your social security check, not your retirement fund. God is your source. So as you open up the flow out, you open up the flow in. And you don't have to know where it's going to come from. You just know that it's going to come. And then just wait in wonderment to see where that's going to be. Okay, enough commercial. I think that was my Kathy laughing.
I'm
So-
sorry.
Did you get any kind of a new perspective or attitude that you would like to adopt for a change in your financial life from the conversation this morning? Anything new show up?
Personally,
Yep.
I can tithe more. And I can do that. But there's some personal family issues, my dear, that I am unable to discuss with church. And I disagree. And it's not something that I'm going to throw out there at this time.
Okay. This talk really was about finances and money.
Right.
But it's amazing how it hooks into so many different areas in our life.
Yes.
But I would also say
Yes.
that the two things, the foundational belief that God is our source and that's our beliefs that slow things down, is we have choice over which beliefs to hold. And there isn't a
True.
sense that you have to give to everyone all that's possible to give. Okay?
Right.
No one's asking that. It's all about, if God is anything,
Balance.
it's about order and harmony and balance. Okay?
Mhm. Got it.
And we can live in a place of order, harmony, and balance and still be open, wide open to the flow of good, because we choose what to do with it. Remember I said we use money. The big saying is there's a power for good in the universe and we can use it. Well, one of those powers for good is money, and we can use it. It doesn't have to use us. We choose how to use it. It's just pay attention to the beliefs, the emotions. If there's a tightness and a fear about it, you may still choose to do the exact same behaviors, but choose it from a place that isn't as constricted. Remember I talked about debt? There's nothing wrong with going into debt, but what's behind it? Is there a trust that the universe is going to continue to flow? Or is there, I can't afford it. Oh my God, tight, I'm scared. Can I make the payments? That's a whole different mindset, a whole different.
I don't have that now. I understand what you're saying, but that's not where I am now.
Okay.
I'm very,
Then I'm
very,
going to move on.
very, very fortunate.
Okay,
Thank
then
you.
I'm going to move on, because if we've got, sorry, family dynamics sometimes get interesting. So let's move on from that.
Sorry about that, guys.
Okay.
Sorry about the y'all.
Okay, so to close, money is a form of divine energy, and we don't need to feel ashamed about our interaction with it, nor do we have to pretend that we're anywhere other than where we are in our relationship to money. Okay. We do need to let go of old stories about the high moral value of poverty and let go of the belief that we are good if we're poor, or there's something wrong with us if we're poor. Neither is true. It's all about how we use that flow. We can let go of the idea that we have to be unethical in some way in order to have a greater flow of money in our lives, or that we will become, I love that word, corrupted by money if we have more coming in our lives. That's our choice. It's how we use it. Okay, it's nothing in money or abundance itself.
True.
Which really is letting go of the attachment to money being our identity. Okay, our value has nothing to do with the amount of money flowing in and out of our lives. So we can recognize that we live within a constant flow of wealth in all of its many forms. It's not my wealth. We just get to play with it. As we bring the mindset of everyday wonder, kind attention, and curiosity to our relationship with money, it will, like any other relationship, blossom. So this week, become aware of your thoughts about money as you handle it. Notice if you hear any ghosts of old myths haunting the house of your mind, and be a ghostbuster and send them packing. Replace them with friendly, supportive, expansive thoughts. So let us pray. Rumi says that there's a field out there beyond right or wrong. It's beyond more or less. It's beyond yes or no. It's beyond time or space. There is a field of infinite possibility, infinite life, infinite presence. And that presence is love. It is peace. It is order and it is harmony. And it is where all life lives. In this field of perfect love, perfect intelligence. Because all life comes from this infinite field, and the infinite field lives in all that it creates. And so that infinite flow of love, of peace is in me. It is essential to who I am. The old saying, closer than hands and feet, closer than the breath itself, is the divine flow of life in me, as me, moving through me. And so today I open myself, and I encourage each of you to open yourselves to this perfect flow of health, of wholeness, of abundance, of love, of joy. Let it fill your cup to overflowing and move before you Let your light shine into the world. The light of love, the light of joy, the light of knowing all is well. And I put this knowing into the law. And I give thanks for answered prayer. And so it is.
So it is.
So it is.
Blessings abound in this moment, silent and open, listening. Spirit, I feel a blessed unfoldment, breathing new life in me. In this moment,
In this moment, I love that. So in this moment, what we are offering is to give you the opportunity to take up the spiritual practice of giving out of gratitude and in support of an activity that provides us with spiritual support and nourishment. It is a way to pay it forward. It is a gift to ourselves and to our community so that we can continue to witness and share our spiritual journey and provide the same for others as we grow our community. Yes, and there are multiple ways that we can give. So we can mail a check to the address that is on our screen. We can go to our beautiful website, saccsl.org, click on the donate button, and there we can choose debit, credit, PayPal, and we donate that way. We can also give, and I love it because it's the holiday season coming, that we can click on the smile also on our website if it's not on our already set up on our website for Amazon. And so as I am shopping for gifts this holiday season, I can also be giving because I have the joy of buying the gifts, and I also have the joy of giving to the center because a small portion of that returns to us. So we appreciate your support. So now as we stay muted, let us say together our abundance affirmation. Abiding by the law of circulation and in heartfelt gratitude, I affirm that I live in a creative and abundant universe that continuously flows in, through, and out as me, expressing as the ever-expanding infinite good. And so it is. So we have this beautiful resource on our website, saccsl.org, where you can go in and you can submit a prayer request. That prayer request then goes out to the ministers and the practitioners where it is prayed upon for the entire week. It's a powerful resource, and I have used it multiple times with great results. So please use it for whatever it is. Big, small, does not matter. And now for our latest announcements. So please remember on the 1st, and mark this on your calendar, the 1st, 3rd, and 5th Sundays, we are in person at the address that is shown on our screen. And then on the other Sundays, the 2nd and the 4th, we are on Zoom. So please join us, whatever way calls to you.
And doesn't October have 5 Sundays?
It does. It does. So next Sunday, we will be in person in the center.
And Reverend Debbie Putnam is going to be our speaker.
Yes. And offering a workshop, I believe, afterwards.
Nope, no workshop.
Okay. And now we also have our Busy Hands and Warm Hearts that is hosted by Reverend Patricia. It is the 2nd and 4th Monday of the month. So bring your own beverage and your own craft. I had the greatest joy of attending it when I was down there. It was nourishing, I have to say, listening to Stephanie play her French horn, having the conversations. It was nourishing for me.
It was wonderful.
It was. And now we also have coming up on November 20th, our auction to benefit the Patrick Connolly Memorial Fund. So please join us. We can bring your arts and your crafts, gift baskets, whatever you are called. It could even be a weekend or a day or an evening at your timeshare, baked goods, professional offerings, acupuncture coaching, hair setting, guitar lessons, whatever you can come up with to give towards this worthy cause, because this is what will supply us with our sound equipment, our speakers, microphones, so that we can have the sound and the vibration that we need for our services. There's also going to be our Friendsgiving. So following the auction, there's a potluck. So just bring whatever you want with that. And we're also going to be inviting from the Sacramento LGBT plus center downtown. We're going to be inviting their youth from that center to join us. So please bring your food, bring your items, bring your pocketbook to bid on the items, and meet these beautiful youth that will be there as they get introduced to our center. And now, our gift for the week. I free my mind to be an open conduit of good. Yes, that all that good, that abundance. And now for our closing song.
Kind friends all gathered round, there's something I would say, that what brings us together here has blessed us all today. Love has made a circle that holds us all inside, where strangers are as family and loneliness can't hide. You must give yourself to love.
You're not hearing it?
If love is what you're after, open up your heart to tears and laughter, and give yourself to love.
Diane seems to be hearing it.
Give yourself to love. I've walked these mountains in the rain, I've learned to love the wind, been up before the sunrise to watch the day begin. I always knew I'd find you, though I never did know how. But like sunshine on a cloudy day, stand before me now. So give yourself to love. If love is what you're after, open up your heart to tears and laughter, and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. Love is born in fire, it's planted like a seed. Love can't give you everything, but it gives you what you need. Love comes when you are ready, me. Love comes when you're afraid. It'll be your greatest teacher, the best friend you have made. So give yourself to love. Love is what you're after. Open up your heart to tears and laughter, and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. Give yourself to love.
Yes. Give ourselves to love. Says we breathing in this love as we give ourselves over to it and go about our day in love. We know that blessings abound and are unfolding in each minute, each hour, each day of the week, of the month, of the year. They're continually unfolding. And as we open ourselves to love, as we be love in all that we do, that abundance unfolds so perfectly. For when we give ourselves to love, we are open to receiving the abundance of the universe as it unfolds so perfectly. And so with this gratitude and this thankfulness of the perfection of life, we will anchor it by saying, and so it is. Please stay tuned for fellowship. It will not be recorded, but please join us.